to Module 3 of the PRECySE Microlearning. This is the last of 3 modules designed to improve your overall awareness of online safety issues and help you better guard against them. Within this module, we'll learn how to better protect yourself online. Let's start by taking a look at the perils of email. A whopping 98% of the cyber attacks we see today come from instances of social engineering. Social engineering refers to the use of deception to manipulate someone into sharing sensitive information, which can then be used for fraudulent purposes. Phishing, spelt with a P, is the #1 online social engineering attack technique. It uses disguised email as a weapon. The term phishing, with a P, is a play on the word phishing with an F, because in both cases someone is trying to trick you into doing something you wouldn't normally do. That is, get you to take the bait. Remember that official-looking emails may also include email attachments containing malware. They are a popular way for cyber attackers to compromise systems and steal data. Email attacks are relatively easy to execute and to carry out at scale. So, are you able to spot a phishing attack? Before we delve into the do's and don'ts of staying safe online, I do encourage you to take a look at Google's phishing quiz. It's short, fun to do, and you'll realize that spotting the real from the fake isn't always straightforward. If you can, pause this video now and open up another browser tab to take the phishing quiz. The links to the quiz are shown here, or you could use your favorite search engine to search for Google Phishing Quiz. Once you've finished the quiz, please return here to continue. As we've seen, email offers cyber criminals a relatively easy way to attack their victims. So here's a few important checks you should do for any and every email that requires some kind of action. Check the sender. Just because an email says it's coming from a name of a person or business you know or trust, that doesn't mean it truly is. Double check the email address to confirm the real sender. Do not open attachments without being 100% sure they are legitimate. Attackers like to trick you with an enticing or seemingly normal attachment that actually contains malware. If you're not expecting an attachment from someone, contact them to ask them if they really sent it. Look out for warnings. Some email programs like Gmail may alert you if they believe the email is suspicious. Alarm bells should ring if you see any such messages. Consider the greeting. Attackers will often use something generic like "Dear valued customer," or there may be no greeting at all. Is there a request for personal information, or does the email direct you to a login page? Be cautious and contact the company's support directly if you have concerns. It is always worth not clicking the link, but going directly to the site itself to log in there. Does the tone suggest urgency? Many phishing or scam emails make it sound as if there's some kind of emergency and stress urgency or a time limit. Inspect all hyperlinks before clicking any of them. If you are using a mouse, hover over the links to see if they are legitimate and point to the correct websites. Check the spelling. Phishing and scam emails often have multiple spelling or grammatical errors. Check the email signature. Most legitimate senders will include a full signature block at the bottom of their emails. And be suspicious. Don't just trust unexpected emails requesting information or pushing you to click on links or open attachments. But staying safe online is not just about the ability to spot an email scam or avoid suspicious links and attachments. There's more to it. Here are some things you should do to keep yourself safe. Passwords. Always ensure your passwords are strong and unique. A strong password should be at least 12 characters, made up from a mix of upper and lowercase letters and include numbers and symbols. Avoid lazy passwords. Those are the passwords made up from a name, like your child's name, and a birth date, or a favourite football team with a couple of characters changed, or a number at the end. Try to avoid using the same password for multiple sites. If one site leaks this information, or an attacker compromises one of your accounts using that password, they are likely to try the same combination for many major accounts online, like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. If you're worried about having to remember all those passwords, you may consider a password manager. The vast majority of cybersecurity specialists agree that password managers are indeed the most safe and secure way to protect your passwords, due to the process and the method of encrypting them. Two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication adds an additional layer of security over and above username and password access. We've all used two-factor authentication at some point. Perhaps your bank has sent you a text message with a code to type on screen, or an authenticator app from Microsoft or Google that generates codes you must enter in at the point you log in. Two-factor authentication complements something you know, username and password, with something you have, a mobile device, and therefore makes it much harder for any scammers to impersonate you. Where possible, make sure you enable two-factor authentication on any account that can support it. Software updates. Yes, it can be a pain when you're nagged to apply software updates, but many updates contain important security fixes that patch vulnerabilities in the software. As soon as these vulnerabilities are learned about, attackers set to work to exploit them. Don't leave your devices vulnerable. Apply those software updates as soon as you can. Firewall. Many operating systems have firewalls built in by default. They are designed to monitor incoming and outgoing data and protect unauthorized access from another location. At the very least, it is worth ensuring you have a firewall installed and turned on. Antivirus. Antivirus applications maintain a database of known viruses and check if the characteristics of your files match. If they do, the file is quarantined, which moves it to a new, safe location and renames it so that it does not affect other files on the system. Antivirus programs are efficient when it comes to classic online threats, such as Trojans, keyloggers, worms, and viruses. However, you may also consider anti-malware, which can detect sophisticated and newer strains of malware and remove them to further strengthen the security of your device. HTTPS. HTTPS is a secured way of sending data between your machine and the web servers. Look for the HTTPS in the URL and seek out the lock icon on your browser before making any transactions. This will ensure that the information you send and receive is encrypted and unable to be viewed by anyone who may be snooping in on your network traffic. Apps. The standard advice for Android users to avoid downloading malicious apps is simple. Only get apps from the official Google Play Store. Criminals can repackage legitimate apps with malware, and third-party app stores are generally difficult to vet and validate. Google Play, however, has built-in mechanisms to screen every app for malware, ransomware, and assorted sketchiness. Even then, malware has slipped through, so it's a good idea to check out app reviews. Do also keep your phone software up to date. Be aware. Ideally, try to keep up to date with what's happening in the online security space. You don't need to dedicate too much time to it. A simple search like current online scams brings back results from Age UK, Experian, consumer fraud, and more. So what's on our don't list? First up, it's passwords again. It's worth revisiting the password situation, as they really do pose a significant threat to your cybersecurity. Passwords are one of the oldest and simplest forms of protection. In reality, there are plenty of other more advanced methods of online security, and passwords are one of the weakest forms. So don't use lazy passwords. Don't reuse passwords. Don't write passwords down or make a note of them in any location that could be accessed by others, including online storage like Dropbox or Google Drive, etc. And don't share them. Enough said. Don't just click away at links in emails and open any old attachments. We've taken a good look at the perils of clicking links that take you to fake websites that steal your login details, or opening attachments that may include one of the many malwares we were introduced to in Module 1. Be suspicious, be vigilant, think before you click or open anything, and validate it's genuine. Don't use public Wi-Fi without a VPN. Let's talk about Wi-Fi eavesdropping. If you've ever connected to public Wi-Fi, such as in a coffee shop, you may have noticed many different networks to choose from with similar sounding names. For instance, Costa Coffee Staff, Costa Coffee Public, Costa Coffee Free Wi-Fi. Often, this is just because a company will have separate networks for customers and staff, but in some cases, it is actually because one or more of these networks belong to a hacker. If you connect to a hacker's network, they instantly have access to the data exchanged with your device. The best way to combat Wi-Fi eavesdropping is to use a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. If you use a VPN whilst on a public Wi-Fi, the attacker wouldn't be able to view the data exchanges as your location is spoofed and your data encrypted. Don't pay by bank transfer. If you pay directly through bank-to-bank transfer, you're unprotected. Unless you act fast, there's a strong chance you will never see that money again. In the UK, if you use your credit card to buy something costing at least £100, you're covered by Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act. This means your credit card provider has equal responsibility with the seller if there is a problem with the things you've bought or if you don't receive them at all. Don't install apps from P2P file sharing or torrent downloads. Peer-to-peer networks and torrenting are entirely legal and useful in sharing information and files. Unfortunately, they're also a playground for criminals who can inject malicious code into executable files or add dangerous macros. Various cracked versions of software can be obtained in this way, but you can be pretty certain you'll get more than just the software, and the risk is simply not worth it. When it comes to software, buy the legitimate versions or obtain an open source equivalent from a well-renowned site with good supportive reviews. Don't shop unsafely. Check the site is secure. Look to the HTTPS protocol and log in the website address bar. Make sure the web address is correct and not a spoof lookalike site, especially if you follow an email link or use a search engine to find a shopping site. Stick to a credible provider with good reviews. Look them up on Trustpilot's review site. It's easy to set up a shop, but it's hard to build a good reputation. Check the site's contact details, lists its terms and privacy policy, and only pay using a safe payment method. Don't overshare. Don't put your entire life on social media. Pictures of you with your friends and family, naming names, showing the locations you've been to, proclaiming to the world you are currently on holiday. You're helping criminals build a profile of you that can be used to exploit yourself and others that you know. Don't chase rewards. Yes, some legitimate websites do offer rewards and competitions, but many online adverts and unexpected emails offering rewards for surveys or competition entries are simply scams that are trying to get your data. Where big brand names are concerned, you can always check with them directly using their legitimate website or contact telephone. So in summary, you've learned that social engineering accounts for 98% of cyber attacks and that phishing, an attack using email, is the #1 social engineering method in use. We've introduced you to a popular and safe phishing simulation program by Google. We've offered several ways you can determine if an email is authentic or not. And we've shared some do's and don'ts that should help to improve your online safety. Thank you for completing the third and final module in this short course. We wish you a pleasant, safe online experience.